disturbing parasite is not always the one that kills its host. Sometimes, death would come too soon. Because a dead animal cannot climb, it cannot fly, it cannot approach another host, and it cannot carry a parasite, one final step toward the place where transmission becomes possible. So imagine something far stranger. The host is infected. Its behavior is changing. Yet it continues moving through the world. To everything around it, the animal may still appear functional. But from the parasite's perspective, that living body has become something else entirely. A vehicle, a platform, a delivery system. And this is where our second journey begins. In the humid vegetation, a fly lands on a leaf. There is nothing unusual about the scene. Flies land on leaves thousands of times. But this one is carrying a fungal infection associated with entomophthora. And as the infection progresses, the location of the host becomes increasingly important. The fly does not simply disappear somewhere on the forest floor. Instead, the relationship can end with the host positioned on vegetation in a way that favors what comes next. For the fungus, height can matter. Exposure can matter. Position can matter. The animal that once used its legs and wings for its own survival has now delivered the fungus to a place useful for transmission. It is a strategy that should already feel familiar. In episode 1, Ophiocordyceps used an ant's ability to climb. Here, once again, an infected insect can become part of the parasite's reproductive machinery. The host supplies movement. The environment supplies opportunity. And the parasite exploits the connection between them. That may be the central rule behind behavioral manipulation. Never build what you can borrow. If the host already has legs, use the legs. If it has wings, exploit movement. If it responds to light, temperature, water, or other animals, those behaviors can become potential pressure points. Evolution does not need to invent an entirely new machine. It can modify the instructions being followed by one that already exists. But fungi are not the only organisms capable of turning another animal into a resource. On leaves and branches, another confrontation unfolds. A spider sits inside a world built for escape. It can run. It can grip vegetation. And depending on the species, its silk can transform open space into shelter, pathways, or traps. Against many attackers, those abilities would be formidable. But a spider wasp does not need to defeat every advantage indefinitely. It only needs to create a brief window of control. The encounter is fast. The wasp approaches. The spider reacts. And the struggle can end with the spider immobilized. For the spider, its extraordinary movement has suddenly become irrelevant. For the wasp, the immobilized body has become a resource for the next generation. This is a very different kind of takeover from the infected ant or fly. There is no need for the spider to climb to a particular height. No need for it to seek water. No need to make itself conspicuous. The wasp solves the problem by removing the host's ability to interfere. A living animal becomes stored biological provision. And that reveals something important. There is no single blueprint for parasitic control. Sometimes the host must move. Sometimes it must stop moving. Sometimes it must enter danger. Sometimes it must remain available. What matters is not the behavior itself. What matters is whether that behavior, or the absence of it, moves the parasite closer to reproduction. But the next case pushes the idea into even stranger territory. Because what if the parasite benefits from a host that does not simply remain alive, but stays active? A cicada moves across a tree. Its legs still work. Its wings can still carry it. It can continue interacting with other cicadas. Yet the insect may be carrying a fungal infection associated with Massospora. And now the fact that the host remains active becomes extremely important. Think about the difference. A dead host stays where it falls. An active host moves through the environment. It encounters other individuals. It occupies new surfaces. It participates in the same world it inhabited before infection. Movement, in this context, is no longer merely a sign that the host has survived. Movement itself can become useful to the parasite. The infected cicada becomes a mobile opportunity for transmission. That is what makes this relationship so unsettling. The animal does not need to resemble a movie zombie. It does not need to stagger. It does not need glowing eyes or violent behavior. It only needs to continue doing enough of what a cicada normally does. Walk, move, encounter others, remain part of the population. Normality itself becomes useful. And suddenly, the parasites from our first episode look different. The snail infected with leucochloridium did not need extraordinary strength. It needed visibility. The cockroach targeted by the emerald wasp did not need to lose every ability to move. Its normal escape response had to be altered. The insect carrying a hairworm did not need to travel across an entire continent. It only needed to cross one critical boundary, from land into water. And the ant associated with dicrocoelium did not need to remain permanently on a blade of grass. Timing mattered. Cool conditions. Position on vegetation. The possibility of reaching a grazing host. Each manipulation is different, because each parasite faces a different problem. This is not a contest to produce the most dramatic behavior. It is biological problem-solving, shaped across generations. And there is an efficiency to it that is almost unnerving. Consider the resources a parasite does not possess. No vehicle, no map, no hands, no understanding of where it needs to go. Yet its life cycle may depend on reaching an incredibly specific environment, or another species entirely. The solution is already walking around outside. A host. Its nervous system detects the world. Its muscles generate movement. Its senses respond to environmental signals. Its behavior connects one place to another. For the parasite, those abilities can be more valuable than anything it could build for itself. The host becomes borrowed machinery. And once you see the relationship that way, mind control begins to feel like the wrong phrase. These organisms do not need a miniature intelligence directing every step. Natural selection can favor mechanisms that alter a particular behavior if that alteration improves transmission. No parasite has to understand the destination. The successful life cycle is enough. Generation after generation, the result can become astonishingly precise. Move upward. Become visible. Stop escaping. Approach water. Grip vegetation. Remain active. Different commands, metaphorically speaking, but all pointing toward the same outcome. Continue the parasite's life cycle. And there is one more reason these relationships matter. They force us to rethink what behavior actually represents. When we watch an animal move, we instinctively assume its actions benefit the animal. A fly chooses where to land. An ant chooses where to climb. A cricket avoids danger. A cicada moves through its environment. Most of the time, that assumption works. But parasites reveal an exception. Behavior can become contested territory. A living body may contain biological interests that do not align. What benefits one organism may endanger another. And evolution does not care which side looks more disturbing to us. It only preserves what succeeds. That is why the most remarkable moment in these stories is often not when the parasite appears. It is the moment before. The ant is climbing. The snail is moving into the light. The cockroach is walking behind a much smaller wasp. The insect is approaching the water. The cicada is still moving among others. If you did not know what was happening inside that relationship, each action might look almost ordinary. And that is precisely what makes it extraordinary. The takeover does not always announce itself. Sometimes it hides inside normal movement. A few centimeters higher. A little farther into the light. One step closer to water. One missed attempt to escape. One more encounter with another host. Small behavioral changes can determine whether a parasite's life cycle ends or continues. So which organism is really in control? Biology rarely gives us an answer as simple as the question. The host is still an animal with muscles, senses, and its own nervous system. The parasite is not literally operating it like a machine. But evolution has discovered something more subtle. You do not always need complete control. You only need enough influence at the right moment. Enough to change a destination. Enough to change exposure. Enough to suppress escape. Enough to cross a boundary. enough to create one more opportunity for transmission. And that may be the strangest lesson of all. In nature, survival is not always about becoming stronger, faster, or larger. Sometimes success belongs to the organism that can borrow another creature's abilities. The legs remain the hosts. The wings remain the hosts. The senses remain the hosts. But for one critical moment, what those abilities accomplish may benefit something living inside or alongside it. So the next time you see an insect climbing a stem, a fly holding strangely still on a leaf, or a small animal moving towards somewhere it seems unlikely to go, remember, the behavior you are watching may have more than one biological beneficiary. The animal may still be alive.